Hey guys, this is Dan from LearningCameras.com, and here I've got the brand new Netgear Neo TV Prime. This is a new Google TV box by Netgear. Now, just to give you a little bit of history, I've got the box right here. I'm actually a long time with Google TV. I have one of the original Logitech reviews, and I've been using this for over a year. I was one of the people that jumped on board the minute they got the price down to $100. That seemed like a good jump-in point. It was really high at $300, not enough for me to test that out. But at $100, it was a pretty good value. I've been fairly happy with it. I kind of consider it more of like a beta type product. It offers services that I love having, and I do use it all the time, but it's not for everyone. I would never tell somebody who gets frustrated with electronics to go buy something like the Review or pretty much any of the Google TV boxes right now. It's not that it's bad. There's just a little bit of a learning curve. It's a little bit steep, and there are some areas that it just doesn't quite meet expectations. But now we're 2 years later since the Review came out, and we have an entry point of $130 on the Netgear. So let's dive into some of the details. Let's see how the Netgear stacks up to something like the Review. Has Google TV really come anywhere in the last 2 years, especially when we consider the hardware? I'm not going to get too much into the software on that. So let's start out with the hardware. Very small device, definitely smaller than the Review. This is small enough that it's going to fit into an entertainment center fine. You can still put this behind a flat screen TV just like you would this. The thickness is about the same, so you just get to reduce the profile on that a little bit. The problem is, the only thing that you've really got on this box, HDMI in and out, Ethernet out, your power cable, and your IR blaster. You do have one USB port on the side of it. Now, here are some of the big things that I noticed. On the Netgear, you also had an optical out. So, if you have a receiver that basically had HDMI pass-through, meaning that the HDMI only passed the video through the receiver and to the TV, but it never took in the audio. So you had to run a separate audio cable to the receiver. If you were one of those people, and I have a receiver that's like that, this box is not going to work for you. There is no audio out other than through HDMI. So make sure that your receiver is not HDMI pass-through, but that the audio will be sent through the HDMI cable, and that will be fine for you. The other thing is we had 2 USB ports, so now we're down to 1. Not really a problem because I never really hooked up 2 at the same time. Also, another big thing on that is the IR blaster. We do have one IR blaster out on this, and that is it. It also is wired only, so you're going to have to wire the cable, and hopefully you have your other components nearby for it to control. Now, it's not really going to control them nearly as well as something like the Logitech Review would, which had a built-in IR blaster, no wired, and then it also has 2 wire blasters that you can hook up as well for controlling additional appliances in case you didn't want to use the wireless, or it couldn't use the wireless depending on how the cabinets are. Maybe had it in a different cabinet and it didn't reach it. So a big drawback on that one. So this used to control everything on my receiver, my television, plus my cable box. With the Netgear, you're down to just the cable box. So you're still going to have to keep your TV remote, your receiver remote. That means one more remote that's pretty much going to be used all the time. And so those were kind of the main drawbacks on the hardware side. And now let's take a look at some of the remote settings. So here we've got the remote, and you'll notice that this is a much smaller remote than we're used to on most other sets. It fits very nicely in the hand. It kind of feels like a normal remote when you're using it, so that's good. I enjoy having it smaller. The Logitech Review keyboard is huge. The good thing is I never lost it because you can't really lose this. But you have a full-size keyboard, but really I don't find myself typing that much on this. So I don't mind having a smaller keyboard on that. I'm not typing essays on this. I'm just, searching for some movies and stuff like that. So a keyboard like this is absolutely fine for me. In fact, a lot of the times I used my cell phone for a lot of that. These will both hold and hook up with your cell phone using the Google TV app. So let's take a look about this. Unfortunately, the size is the only thing that's great about this remote. After that, it was kind of a downhill slope for me. You don't have two-finger scrolling. This is a very, very small area for you to use the mouse. So it's very difficult to use the mouse. It was much larger area on the Logitech Review. I definitely preferred having that because that is something that you use a lot when navigating the web or some of the other apps on there. Now the other thing is you have a click ability inside of that, and that is what's going to do your up, down, left, right. Unfortunately, man, it is so easy to hit both the, to actually scroll while using those clicks, and it's both using the same pad. So honestly, I accidentally scrolled when I was trying to click, and I would click when I was accidentally trying to scroll, and you could hit the center, but you could accidentally hit a little bit to the bottom, left, right, and even into the corners. It has some additional functions into the corners. So that was a big letdown, and I really miss that two-finger scrolling for going down web pages that I had with the review. So, you know, there was a lot that was kind of disappointing on that. Now, you do have your basic functions on the remote, as far as your pause, play, everything like that. You do not have some of your DVR controls. So I was seeing if they were on this side, but no, I don't see them anywhere really. So you don't have any of your DVR controls to do that. So you're gonna have to keep your cable remote, or if you have some other kind of remote, like I use Logitech's remotes most of the time anyway. So you're gonna have to keep that handy. Now, it's nice having the shortcuts to some of these things on the bottom. You've got Netflix, Amazon, YouTube, those are big. I don't really use some of the other ones, my media. So those are good to have, a little bit of a shortcut. You can set those as favorites using the Logitech Review. You just have to go to your home screen and hit it. So, you know, one less click, it's good to have, but not huge. Now on the back, you have a keyboard. Keyboard isn't a joy to use, but honestly, I'm not really typing that much. So for the times that I used it, it was fine, not that big of a deal. The problem is when you're using that, your fingers are going to be touching this. And there's nothing that seems to deactivate this, so it seems to work just fine while you are typing. And therefore, I had issues all the time. Whereas when you're using this and you are typing, you do have to put it on your lap or something like that. But you could use this one-handed to navigate the basic controls. No problems at all. You had all of your functions right here. You do have DVR controls as well, live TV, and your standard keyboard. So none of that. You also have a right-click button, which is nice to have too. So none of that ability on this, and really I was accidentally hitting things all the time. I really found this a tough remote to use. And honestly, you had to keep your other remote beside you all the time as well, because this handles so few of the functions. It doesn't control your TV, your receiver, your DVR. There's so little things that it actually does that I found the need to keep the other ones around a lot. So one other thing on the hardware side, and I'm going to show you the power cable that comes with it. Now, anyone who's using a power strip should hate a cable like this, because it's almost impossible to get this into a power strip. Depending on the kind of power strip that you use, some have them this way. My power supply keeps them this way. So this got in the way of every other plug that there was on my thing. So this basically takes up about 2 to 3 slots, unless you can get this on the end and you don't have another power adapter like this on that. Compare that to what Logitech did, and they housed everything in this in-between unit, and then you got to plug it into any kind of a normal outlet. It took up so much less space. You do have a much longer cable, which I didn't need, but honestly, zip tie this thing up. This is so much better. So not only did I have trouble fitting it into the outlets that I had available, I actually had to hook up an extension in order to get that in there. And it's just so much better on the review on that, the way that they do it. So I don't know why they did that. I would have preferred it been inside of the cord and not plugging it in. So there's basic on the hardware, and now let's take a look at how this thing functions. So here we go. This is the main screen of the Netgear, and basically it looks just like about every other Google TV device, identical to the review. Navigating through it is, you know, it's kind of slow. It's about the same as any of the other ones. If we go to all of our apps, we can navigate through app selection, minimal, and everything worked pretty much as expected. I did have a crash when I first launched Amazon Videos. After that, I haven't had any since then, just that first time. So it seems to be kind of a flash error. And so, you know, you do have some of the basics on here. You have the ability to go through your photos, go through your music, that kind of stuff. Now, when we head back to the main, these are all favorites that we can go to. You do have the ability to go to YouTube, and I had this open, which is why it loaded pretty quickly. See what's trending, everything like that. This is all very, very similar to any of the other boxes. So let's go see some of the new things. So basically, you know, it's been 2 years. We should have a bit more processing power. So when we go to the internet, and let's go ahead and load up the site. Now, I will say, when I'm typing this on one side of the keyboard, but now I have to switch to the other side of the keyboard in order to actually click on anything. And so that's, you know, it's another step, and it's uncomfortable having to click between them a lot. Now, I will say it does load faster than the review. Everything pretty much on the internet does seem to be going a little bit better. Now, I don't have any ability to scroll on this using the two-finger scrolling. So you can use the down arrow buttons, which is very clunky, or you would have to try to position the mouse, and good luck doing that. See? It's so easy to click on everything as you are doing this. The mouse is super sensitive. I will say this, getting the mouse to get into a particular area, even a very large area like this, it's very difficult to navigate on this device. So, you know, overall, we can get through this, but it's very clunky going through the internet. Even though it is faster than what we have seen on some of the other boxes and even the Logitech review, it's just that, you know, it's so, actually my mouse has disappeared, so I'm waiting for it. So, you know, even this is still slow. It's nothing like what we're used to on our phones or on our computers or anything like that. It's definitely substandard to that. So the experience is just not up to snuff on that. And I will say also, when we go to live TV, and I hit a guide, and we go to change the channels, I'm going to change them as fast as I can, and you're going to see how slow it is actually changing these channels or navigating through this. It is unbelievably slow. And so right now I'm actually not pressing anything anymore, and it's still registering all of these clicks. It is horrible. The experience is horrible. You're going to want to use your cable box remote for this. Everything on it really just felt substandard. And unfortunately, much of the web is still blocked from the Logitech review, so there's not a whole lot of content other than TV and maybe YouTube, Amazon, Netflix, but those are all paid services. So unfortunately, you know, other than what seems like a slight increase in your internet speeds, the Netgear was pretty much a letdown in every other area when compared to the review, which is probably not one of the greatest devices I've ever used. I only use it because of the additional functionality, and I haven't found something else that compares to it. So, you know, I consider that the Logitech said that Logitech said that the review was pretty much a failed project and that they regretted making it. They stopped selling it after a little bit, discounted the price to $100. That doesn't say a lot, that the review is probably a better product in most areas than the Netgear. So when the Logitech review now is still on sale, you can still get it on Amazon.com. It is $130, or it's actually $20 cheaper right now. The last time I checked, $110 versus $120. I don't know how much longer it will be on sale, but you do have the ability to still buy it on that. So, you know, considering that is still available, I would probably go for that, if anything, than the Netgear. Google TV really and truly is still a beta device to me. It's not bad, but right now I can't even get the mouse. I got to wait for it to finish loading. So, you know, it's not a bad device in that it gives us features that we don't have otherwise, but it is a kind of a clumsy, and it's a little upsetting for those who are not used to waiting a little bit for some of these features. So let's try streaming on this one more time. I still enjoy my review. The features are great. It's not for everyone. Unfortunately, the Gear GT V100 was really a further disappointment in pretty much every area. Considering that it's been 2 years since this first came out, or since the first Google TV devices came out, this is really more of a letdown than anything else in so many areas, and I'd have a hard time recommending it. I'm going to include the link to Amazon on it if you want to check it out. Also, I'm going to include the link to the review while it's still out there. Honestly, I preferred it just a little bit. But feel free to mention any of your own opinions, anything that you thought. The web was faster, that was good, but honestly, the controller, the power cable, the fact that it won't work with receivers that are only HDMI pass-through, you're missing USB, you're missing optical out. There's just you don't have the IR blaster, which was huge for me having that built in. There's just so many things that are just not better that I don't see a reason to upgrade at this point in time.